Welcome everybody here on the internet. So we are, for those that aren't aware, we are live on the internet. What you see over here on the TV and on that TV, that's what is going out on the internet. And the camera does pick up all the sound in the room. So later when we're talking, you'll be able to talk and they'll be able to hear you on the internet. How's that? Sound good? So tonight we're going to be finishing up, because we're not going to be here next week. We're going to be finishing up step 5, and for in case, since we're not going to be here next week, we're going to do 2 profiles in one night. How about that? That just came to me, guys. So so we're going to do double step work and double reflection tonight, and so I think it's going to be good. But welcome to Saturday Night Live Life Recovery meeting. We're here because this meeting is about recovering from life, because life is messy. Would you agree with that? Yep. Life is messy, and we all are fellow strugglers. I'm a fellow struggler with you all, and you are fellow strugglers with me. And we're all working together and trying to have a better life, and as you improve, that positively affects me, and hopefully as I improve, that positively affects you, because we all are connected, whether we realize it or not. In our addictive mindset, oftentimes we think that we're separate, and we want to be disconnected. And if we're able to, we want to be isolated. Does that sound like anybody you know? No. And the fact of it is, all of that actually disconnects us from what God has designed, because reality is He created mankind for relationship with Him and relationship with others. And when we eliminate the relationship aspect, that's the reason why this is a group. And that's the reason why we're trying to communicate this over the internet, to try to help you to feel like part of the group. And also, if you have a question that you'd like to ask, you're welcome to text it, and I will check the chats from time to time, and I will see if I can. We'll see if we can address that. So anyway, we want you to be a part of it. And so we're going to be doing the steps. We're going to be reading the 12 steps, and we're going to be winding up step 5 tonight. We will not be here next week. I know I've already said that. In the morning, I just want to make sure I hit this. In the morning, Central Christian Center is going to be having church in the park at 4th and Turk, right down 4th Street, or right up 4th Street, depending on where you're at, close to Range Line. We're going to be having hot dogs, hamburgers, music, and we're going to have church there. We're going to have church, and then we're going to picnic. We got games for the kids, and we got all kinds of things going on. You need to bring your lawn chair. If you like to bring a dessert, you can bring some dessert, cookies, or something like that. But church is providing hamburgers and hot dogs and the things that go along with that. Okay, so that's tomorrow, and that's what I was thinking about.
What time?
Church is 10:30. Good question. 10:30. There'll be people there probably from 9:30 on. They'll probably start cooking at 10 or so, and then we'll run up to probably close to 12. So, all right, bracelets. This is time. This helps us to celebrate our time that we're clean, and this is not just for drugs and alcohol, but this can be whatever you decide it's going to be, and you don't have to tell anybody what it's for, but it's to mark and to celebrate your clean time on whatever, whether it's drugs, alcohol, pornography, cutting, gambling, overeating, rageaholic. Probably nobody in here has ever had that problem before. And so, whatever problem you have, okay, you know, you could have the addiction of pleasing people. Anybody here ever had that addiction? Well, everybody could raise their hand, but you know, you're the only one that did. So, wow, man, that's something. But anyway, we have these bracelets to mark whatever you're dealing with, you know, and recovery is not just about sobriety, even though sobriety is part of recovery. Recovery is that we change on the inside, and when you change on the inside, these outside behaviors begin to alter. Does that make sense? All right, so back to the bracelets. We have white bracelets for today, up to 30 days. We have orange bracelets for 30 days plus, green bracelets for 60 days plus, maroon bracelets for 90 days plus, blue for 6 months and plus, yellow for 9 months plus, glow in the dark 1 year plus, gray 18 months and plus, blacks 2 years and more, silver is 5 and more, gold is 10 and more. And Tommy will hand them out. If anybody wants one, just raise your hand. He'll come to you and figure out what you need. How about that? Anybody in here? If you out there in the internet land, you want one, you can. Does that hurt when you do that? He snapped his bracelet. I guess that's a form of celebration, right? And so you out there in the internet land, if you'd like a bracelet, either come to the live meeting or try to let us know, and we'll see if we can get you one. So there's that. Also, we have a basket over there on the table, the wicker basket. If you have an offering that you like to put in, that's the basket for that, and we appreciate that. Okay, let me ask the questions, okay? We've been talking about relapse prevention, and my question to you is, has relapse prevention study that we've been doing here been beneficial for you? Has it kept it on your mind to think about, looking for your triggers, identifying your triggers, and also that makes you better, okay? I got several nods. Let me ask this question, because as I was studying this week, I got to thinking, could what I'm doing and going over this, could this be affecting you in a negative way? Has it affected anybody in a negative way?
No, I don't mean.
Do what?
No, it's been good to stick with something for a second.
Okay.
Now it would be something different every week, you know, it's kind of like keeps us on track.
Yes, but not that I'm having actually tonight is our 11th week doing this, but I had a thought, well, I wonder if I am, because of talking about relapse and relapse prevention, could I be triggering anybody? And so, Rick.
I don't know that it's affected me really in a negative way. Some of it makes me uncomfortable, and I don't mean that in a bad way. What I mean is, it's causing me to evaluate some of my triggers, and some of it is, it's uncomfortable to think about.
Right, yes, yeah, and so then your conclusion is that it is, so for mostly negative or mostly positively?
It's mostly positive, because I need to think about
Because
those things.
so it hasn't made anybody go out and act out or reuse or anything like that. And so, of course, recognizing your triggers, you have to become aware, and of course that's gonna be an issue, make you feel uncomfortable. But if you're not aware, you can't deal with it, right?
Right.
And if you're not aware of it, you can't be prepared. If you don't want to stop, if you don't know what a stop sign is, you don't know what it is when you come up to it, right?
Right.
You know, yeah, it's a problem. You got to stop. But if you don't stop, you can cause some serious issues with you and with others. I'm talking about a stop sign when you're driving, of course.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. Well, thank you. That was just, I don't know. When I'm going through stuff, I want to do the best I can for you. I want to serve you well, and I sure don't want to negatively affect you.
It don't, like I said, it don't negatively affect me. I haven't wanted to go out and just have a blowout or anything like that. It's just, you know, some of the things that's caused me to think about are some things that I've kept, kind of like the self-deception that I was
Yes.
doing, you know?
Yeah, has a line in that self-deception that those things that we buried, we thought had been dead and buried, are actually seeds,
Exactly. Yeah, that's what.
and they produce fruit.
Right.
Okay,
That's what
and so we need to deal with those seeds, and we need to deal with that fruit, and so, all right, good deal. All right, well, that kind of answers my question. Hello, guys, come on in, we're glad you're here. We got coffee and some treats back there, and snacks. So, let's go over the questions. And this may be my last week that I ask these questions, okay? And so, depends on if I get through the material that I got planned here for tonight. I know doesn't cover all the materials there, but I think I think we got the core of it. Anyway, we'll see what happens. So first question is, what causes relapse? Distractions. Anxiety. Did you want to be suspicious?
Suspicious? Yeah.
Suspicious.
Specific.
Specific.
Well,
Get
distractions
it out.
like, well, like my car breaking, and now I'm not working all the time, so that's a distraction. Because now I gotta manage my time way differently.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, you have other things invading your life because you were occupied, otherwise because you had it, so then those could be those distractions you're talking about.
yeah.
Okay?
Because I wouldn't normally have to walk by the drug house to go to the store.
Yeah.
I could just drive right
Yeah.
by. But now I have like that whole block to decide if I'm gonna turn.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's being specific. I don't know why I got hard on that word tonight.
Specific. Is it
Yeah.
specific or specific?
Let's just leave that alone, okay?
All right, move on.
When you're hung up,
Next.
all right, anybody else on what causes relapse? Isolation, yes.
Now they're telling my story.
Yeah.
Last month.
Yeah.
Isolation does, yeah.
I'm okay, leave me alone.
Yeah, well, I used to hear this one, if it doesn't concern you, it didn't work when I tried to say it.
What's the common triggers for you to relapse?
A breakup.
A breakup?
Yeah, I mean, it could just be a friendship.
Yes, right, yeah.
Disagreement.
Breakup.
Disagreement.
Breakup, or we might call it a loss.
Yeah.
Even maybe a loss of your car, loss of those employment situations,
Yeah.
loss of friends,
Yeah.
loss of the daily routine that you used to have,
That's
right?
being
Because
specific.
the routine, our routines, they either can be healthy or unhealthy. So losing unhealthy ones are a good idea, but you can still grieve a loss of unhealthy routines. What does that sound like? Yeah.
Like the end of the world.
And because of that grief, you could have a relapse, right?
See, and that could fit into the everything's going good, and then you relapse. Because everything was going good, and then all of a sudden it wasn't going exactly how you had it going.
And that because of your routine.
So you want to keep it feeling good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, So let's go to the next one. What does it mean if you relapse?
Okay.
What does it mean if you relapse?
You need to go back to step 1 through 12.
Go back to step 1. Okay. Does anybody else have any other comments before
I do.
okay.
I relapsed before,
Yes.
and I felt worse the longer I stayed there.
Yes.
But I kept myself there because I felt bad about myself,
Yes.
and I didn't want to have to deal with this. Once I did, it was okay. I realized it was okay.
Yes.
It's gonna be okay, dude.
Yes.
You know?
Can I ask you a question about that?
But
What do you think kept you in your relapse after you did it? Because you said you didn't want to.
well, once you switch crowds you hang out with, and you get used to being around those people, it's hard to get away from them.
Okay.
You could, it's like like I had a problem going, you know, in the drug world and then having to go back to normal people, and I didn't feel like I fit in.
Okay. You didn't feel like you fit in.
And I wasn't-
So it's
that
kind of like
wasn't the problem.
self-rejection.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think for me, it was kind of, I understand what he's talking about, but it's guilt and shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, guilt and shame.
Guilt and shame. A lot that can get you a lot. You want to say something, Brandon?
You know, that one comment or the word that, you know, I wasn't aware of, but the pause, it's called the post-acute withdrawal
Right.
syndrome,
Right.
I have to deal with all all of that cravings and all the stuff that comes with whatever addiction that you have.
Right. All
whether
the
it's drug,
mental and emotional.
just overwhelms us at times, and then we just think, well, best way to do it is just to go and physically relapse,
Right.
or
It-
just to give over
it's-
to
it- We feel that it'll make us stop, but the only trouble is, it just starts the cycle all over again, and it's even worse, right? I remember having a person say, "Man, I remember I just went through all this, and all the sickness and the pain and all the stuff, and here I am again." Right? Do what, Bob?
Take the idea of a thought or a theory, it'll come right back into, right back into focus.
Help me understand what you're saying.
Like, sometimes theories or whatever, they'll repeat itself, until it comes back to a middle thing and stuff
Right.
like that. And kind of like sometimes you just gotta have that breaking point, or like a neutral, like a standard ground and stuff like that.
What was that last statement?
Like a standard ground and stuff like that.
Something ground?
Stay around.
Well, I mean, like when it comes to addictions, or it can be classified as even theories and stuff like that.
Okay.
I mean,
So are you referring to this as kind of like habits, patterns?
yeah.
Okay, all right. And that's,
Call it seasons back then.
yes, yeah, there's seasons, cycles, right? And they're all, not that they're all exactly the same, but they're all very similar. And sometimes we get trapped in those things, and oftentimes we live through those times, and we don't even realize it until it's almost over. Isn't that the truth? And that goes back to asking that question about triggers, because those habit patterns or seasons or whatever we want to call it, are, we need to recognize, because here I am doing the same thing again that I've always done, expecting things to be different. And that's what Einstein called insanity.
Exactly.
And so, all right, I wrote down a couple of notes here that I wanted to touch on this question. And again, the question is, what does it mean if you relapse? And I added a secondary question to that. Does it mean that you are immoral? Does a relapse mean that you're immoral? What is it?
Some people would believe so.
Some people would
Yeah.
believe so.
Yeah,
That's the reason why I'm asking the question.
some places
Some,
would probably teach that.
okay,
I've actually heard it some places, and
yes,
I thought to myself when I heard it being taught there, I thought, us as humans, we're given the choice to make, we have free will.
right. But immoral means that I am bad. Because I'm bad is the reason why I relapsed, right? Because I relapsed, then that makes me bad. You can look at it from
No,
either deal, and which would mean I am immoral, means I am not a moral person. I'm immoral. That and like you said, some people believe that, and I would bet all of us have some of that.
Yeah, you may believe that about yourself, but, and it's hard when you're believing that to think that other people don't think that about you. Other people still see hope in you. And, but yeah.
I like your point. Your point is how you see you and how you see others is different.
Right,
You wouldn't say they were immoral,
right.
but that doesn't mean that I don't see myself as being immoral, right? Because somebody said a while ago something about shame and guilt, right?
Yeah.
Shame, guilt is I did something wrong. Shame is I am something wrong. There's something wrong with me. I'm a bad seed. I am a mess. I am worthless. I am no good. And every one of you in here has thought that at one time or another. And some of you may still. That doesn't mean it's right. It just means it's your thoughts, right? Hello? Okay. And a relapse, let's make sure that I finish the full thought here. So then, relapse does not mean that you're immoral. But the question is a relapse a good or a bad thing? Excuse me? Anybody else want to venture a comment?
I've had,
Do I?
Kind of depends on the overall outlook.
Overall outlook, what does that mean?
What's going on in a situation like that.
Okay. So, like, if I have a good excuse, then relapse is a good thing.
Well, no, excuse is just an excuse, right? Have one, but.
Well, I was just trying to hear what you had to say. Okay, I was trying to, and I appreciate the comments. So is relapse a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a bad thing, but at the same time, there's lessons to be learned.
There you go. Yeah, all right. Yes, because there's always lessons, right?
Yeah.
You can always use the bad thing to extract good out of it. You can learn from it.
Exactly.
If that wasn't the case, most of us would have serious problems. Hello. Right. So,
When I come back there.
but I'm trying to make sure I'm trying to thread this needle here, and that is that does a relapse mean that you're immoral or that you are just a bad person?
no.
But no, you're not a bad person. But the thing that you did was bad because it affects you, it affects everybody around you, it affects all of us. It depletes your life. Isn't that true? Even if you have a good excuse to use, it's their fault. They made me do it.
Exactly.
It was because they did that. So therefore, I thought it would be okay.
Well, if you didn't put me in this situation.
Yeah. All right. Now, hey, listen to our situations. The younger you are, yes, you are heavily influenced. But let's get real here. We're adults, okay? That was then, this is now, and you're still doing the same thing. Well, I'm doing it because that happened to me. Well, we have to take responsibility somewhere, and we have to draw the line. Would you agree with that?
Exactly.
All right? And yeah, it's bad. Bad stuff happened, okay, that was out of your control. But the fact of it is, life has a lot of bad stuff that happens That's not in our control. But to be a mature adult, we have to take responsibility for stuff that comes in our life. Would you agree with that? Hello? Okay, that doesn't mean it's easy, and it doesn't mean that you like it. But the fact of it is, if we don't take responsibility for the stuff that comes our way, then we just become a victim.
It's like our children paying for, the sins of our father.
That's some of what happens right there, yeah. But and it happens, and it goes, the Bible says, to the third and fourth generation. And that's true in a behavioral, social connection. But you know what? Neuroscience proves that genetically, things are passed down also. Not that they have to do that, but they are, they're exposed to it. And every one of us, have a choice. There's something called epigenetics. Epigenetics sits on top of the gene, and epigenetics is you making a choice what you're going to do. And that's the reason why I said a while ago, we have to take responsibility. We have to make a choice. And the fact of it is, we all do make choices. We either go yes or no. I will choose the right thing. I won't choose the right thing. And if I get to talk later on tonight, I'm going to talk about Romans chapter 7, okay? Where the scripture talks about we are a mixture of stuff at the same time going on. And I've got about 7 or 8 verses. We're going to go through them, hopefully slowly, and just talk about it, okay? And so anyway, that's what's going on. I need to wrap up here. Why do people relapse when things are going good? They won't celebrate. They're feeling good. They think they got it handled. Okay.
Or you think it can't take you again?
Yeah, I've got it handled. One won't do any harm. Rick, I couldn't hear you. Complacency. Yeah, just we're either moving forward or backward, right? There's no stagnant in the universe. Even if you die, you are decaying, okay? Right? So we're moving one way or the other. That's just the way that it is. You may not like it, but that's just the way it is. Let's go on. Will I always be in danger of relapse?
Absolutely.
Okay? It's always there. It can slip up on us if we get apathetic, if we expose ourselves to things that we know that we've had issues with. Step 1 tells that's part of coming to the place that we recognize that we're powerless over this particular issue. I may have power in other parts of my life, but this one gets me, okay? And we can get better at learning how to manage our life and deal with it. But if we stop, it can come. We make ourselves exposed, potentially exposed. Okay. All right. Last one. This is the one I added a while back. Why or what started you on your path of addiction? Yes, sir.
I'd never been homeless before, and I was in a senior relationship after my mom passed from cancer. We broke up, and I just stopped talking to my best friend. I shut down, and she didn't understand why. And I just didn't know how to open back up, and I thought I found it in drinking.
I didn't catch the last word.
And I thought I found it in drinking.
Oh, okay. Yes. So can I interpret what you just said? And correct me if I got it wrong. So you you felt something going on, so you kind of started repressing or suppressing yourself, and so basically you got depressed, and so you started backing up. Right so far? And then you started isolating. Okay? And then, and because, and that was to help you, but actually it increased your pain. Correct? Am I right so far? And so so the more you overwhelmed yourself by your choices of isolation and being depressed, you opted to drink, and to try. That was your solution to fix your problem. But the drinking, how did that work out?
I was an angry drinker.
Angry drinker, yes.
So sometimes I break things, like I black out and come back to, and there'd be stuff around me broke. I don't think I ever really got violent with anybody, but I would just break things.
Yeah, as far as you know.
As far as I know.
Yeah, I know. That's always was the scary part for me. Not knowing what happened.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you're here tonight.
Thank you.
All right. And you know what? You're doing something different than that isolation thing. And you're opening up. Man, you're on the move. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's your name, sir?
I'm Joe.
John, I have your son's name.
And what was it?
Joe.
Joe. I'm glad you're here, Joe.
Thank you.
Anybody else comment before I move on to the next deal? We're talking about what started you down your path, and thank you for your comments, Joe.
I've learned what's led me back to that path,
Okay? Good.
and that's good to know.
It is good to know.
So I can stop myself.
Well, it's good to know where not to go, and it's good to know where to go, right? Isn't that the truth? Trouble is, sometimes it's easier to know where not to go.
Then go there, and go there.
And the trouble is, if we keep looking at where we should not go, we always go where we look. Have you ever noticed that? Hello? You notice that? Yes, Rick.
Okay, I answered this question once before, and I said rebellion against my family or what have you when I was a kid. But I think a lot of that, and that's true, but I think a lot of it has to do with low self-esteem.
That would be probably some of it.
Like that.
Do what?
I believe that.
Yeah, that's some of it.
You
Some
know,
of
I was bounced around a lot when I was a kid, bounced back and forth, so I
Yes.
felt unwanted.
Right.
You know, I didn't feel good about myself.
Mhm.
And alcohol made me feel better, made me feel like, because I could fit in. And
Yeah, it numbed you out.
I could fit in.
And
It was the wrong crowd.
Felt like you would be able, it lowered your inhibitions, your shyness,
Right, yeah.
gave you some confidence, that liquid courage,
Gave
right?
me personality,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah. You could pretend to be something that you didn't feel that you were.
Exactly.
So all those people that liked you liked how you acted, maybe.
Yeah.
They liked to alcohol you.
Right. Yeah.
But the only trouble is, those connections don't fulfill that longing that you had, which the real issue was that longing to belong.
Exactly.
And that's the reason why you had the low self-esteem, was because you didn't.
That's the underlying culprit.
Yeah, that's the reason why I was smiling a while ago. You didn't ask me, but I went on and told you anyway now.
Longing to belong. That's where it all lies at right there.
Right.
That's what's been messing with mine and stuff. I noticed mine was with, families, we tied together and stuff like that.
Joe, you're gonna have to speak up a little bit.
Mine got started with, our families and stuff like that, cause, we tied together, to unite together and stuff like that and stuff, and, my family, they always taught like foundations and stuff like that, or not only in building houses, but marriages and families and stuff like that. And, without that, kind of support like I used to have, or, or just stuff like that, or like I used to be back in the day and stuff like that, it's, been just
Yeah, and the thing of it is,
sad.
we don't realize when we make choices away from that, kind of like what you were talking about a while ago, was Job too, wasn't it? Joe, and that's Joe. Okay, so, and we don't realize, we don't know what we're giving up, right?
Because in the moment you're hurt.
Yeah, you're hurt, you're maybe angry, and besides that, you don't even value it because you don't esteem it as valuable until after you've lost it a while and you have gone into the abyss and you realize that you've been longing for is that real connection. And the trouble is, for a lot of us, we destroyed all of our connections, right? We tear it up, and it's hard to start to rebuild our life. It's doable. It's not easy, but it sure is worth it. Do what, bub? Yeah. So, oh man, I have a bunch of really good quotes here, but I guess I can save them. Boy, if I start, I'm not going to want to quit. Well, I've got 4 or 5 quotes from one of my first books I remember reading back in the late 70s that really made a difference in my life, and it was Psycho-Cybernetics. Anybody ever heard that book? And it was Maxwell Maltz, and anyway, I got some quotes from him. But we will just entice you with Psycho-Cybernetic authors' quotes. How about that? Sound like a deal? So we'll get on in, and then maybe I'll get to talk tonight. But we got some good stuff here because we're gonna do all kinds of step study, and it's gonna be gooder than ever before. How about that? Yeah. Woo-hoo. Like my English? Gooder. Gooder.
I'm rubbing off on you.
That hillbilly exposure is getting me, right?
Right.
See, like I said the other day, that 95% of all humans become the people that they're around. So, gosh, so we got to be careful. Yeah, I know. All right, so we're going to go, and Heather, you were reading the steps, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to come and read the steps. And so we're glad that Heather's here, and she's going to read for us. So welcome, Heather.
Hey, Heather.
You're welcome.
Yay.
Good evening. I hope everybody's doing good this evening. Well, I'm going to do the 12 steps. Number 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Number 3, we made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. 4, we made a searching and a fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. 8, we had made a list of all persons that we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, we made a direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, we promptly admitted it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. In step 12, we have had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. We tried to carry this message to others and practice these principles in all of our affairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather. Okay, Brandon, you're next.
How's everyone tonight? All right. I'm gonna do unending love this week. We'll start here. Let me get back over to where I'm at here. Okay, unending love here. I'm gonna start kind of by reading the recovery themes I thought was really good in Hosea, because I'm gonna be reading out of Hosea chapter 11, verses 8 through 11. But it's recovery themes here. It says the power of committed love. It's always hard to love people who don't deserve it, but these are the people who really need to be loved the most, you know. And I definitely know that I didn't deserve to be loved out there, especially, you know, in my addiction. Man, I was flying off the, you know, I was living a very foolish life, and God still spared me in spite of that. You know, He still loved me, and you know, even the ones that I done the, you know, done the most wrong to, you know, especially myself. You know, that right there is a very strong statement. You know, the kind of love it says that God pours out on us is unconditional. It has a powerful healing effect, especially when we are helplessly trapped by our dependencies and feel unworthy of love. Throughout the book of Hosea, we hear this message: God loves and reaches out to us no matter how unworthy we are. Understanding this fact, I mean, and I had to underline that. Understanding this fact is foundational for our healing and recovery. I mean, it's just realizing that, I mean, God is, man, He just, if nobody loves me, it's God that loves me. And even no matter how bad I've been, or how bad I messed it up, even especially when I knew what was right to do and didn't do it. You know, I think, man, that, you know, and then I kept doing it, and then, anyway, and then right here, and then I'll hurry here. Tough love leads to recovery. God will never enable us to lead to destruction, you know, destructive lifestyle. His love is tough. It is confrontational. He cares enough to stop us before we are destroyed by our decisions and actions, or activities. Activities. Sometimes God uses suffering to help us realize that our ungodly lifestyle, you know, He just loves us enough, you know, to get us to realize that He's all we need, you know. And then God is merciful. You know, it's kind of a illustration of what this book of Hosea is all about. You know, when Hosea found Gomer after she had returned to prostitution, his attempt was not for punishment but mercy. He wanted restoration and recovery for her. When God allowed Israel to be conquered by Assyria, it was an expression of His mercy. It was an significant part of God's program for Israel's restoration and recovery. So we can be confident that as we put our lives in God's hands, He will use even the pain in our lives to bring healing. God is ready and willing to show mercy to all who turn to Him for help. Man, don't I thank God for mercy? You know, man, when I was out there running amongst, wow. I mean, I could have died. I could have blown my heart up many a times by my choices. I could have just done anything and everything but God was merciful. I mean, I'm standing right here because of it right now. I mean, I think every one of us is, and we can relate to that, you know, even though we may not, you know, some of us may not believe in him, or I mean, man, it's just, oh, I don't know. It's just, we could go on and on about God's mercy, but and then really this last one here, it says, never too far gone for God. You know, and in this story, Gomer was a failure. She ended up selling herself into slavery in order to survive, but Hosea did not give up on her. Likewise, Israel was a failure. It says, turning to other gods in rebellion, but God did not give up on his people. If we have become slaves to our own dependencies and feel powerless to change, we can be sure that God will never give up on us. Turn to God now. And so that's just, I thought that was really good as well. Okay, and then I'll go to the scripture here in Hosea chapter 11. Hosea chapter 11, and then verses 8 through 11, it says, "Oh, how can I give you up, Israel? Oh, how can I let you go? How can I destroy you like Admon, or demolish you like Zerubbabel? Zebulim? My heart is torn within me, and my compassion overflows. No, I will not unleash my fierce anger. I will not completely destroy Israel, for I am a God and not a mere mortal. I am the Holy One living among you, and I will not come to destroy. For someday the people will follow me. I, the Lord, will roar like a lion, and when I roar, my people will return trembling from the west like a flock of birds. They will come from Egypt trembling like doves. They will return from Assyria, and I will bring them home again, says the Lord." So, and then here it says, unending love, the Bible reading, what I just read, it says, we admit to God, to ourselves, and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. We may be sorely aware of the deep shame, trouble, and pain we inflicted on our family when we were controlled by our addictions. And man, that hurt big time, you know, there, because I know for, you know, going back to what I said, you know, I mostly was doing myself harm, but, you know, man, my parents, the ones that really loved me the most, you know, they never stopped loving me. You know, they never stopped praying for me. You know, I had to realize that, you know, I just about killed my mom. You know, I just about tore her in two. You know, and but I just realize now, you know, man, what love, you know, our Heavenly Father, you know, our Creator has for us. You know, it's just awesome. So we may be afraid to admit the exact nature of our wrongs because we don't understand how God can love someone who is so bad. Hosea was a prophet to the rebellious nation of Israel. God used Hosea's life to demonstrate his unconditional love for us and his people. The Lord told Hosea to marry a prostitute. I was like, wow, you know, there. Hosea married her, loved her, and I didn't mean that in a bad way, by the way. Just that. It says, but later his wife relapsed into her old ways, broke Hosea's heart, and brought shame on their family. She fell into slavery. God then battled Hosea by telling him, go and love your wife again, even though she commits adultery with another lover. This will illustrate that the Lord still loves Israel, even though the people have turned to other gods. We may be asking, how could God or anyone still love me? But God asked, oh, how can I give you up? How can I let you go? How can I destroy you? My heart is torn within me, and my compassion overflows, for I am a God and not a mere mortal. I am the Holy One living among you, and I will not come to destroy you. There is absolutely nothing we can do or confess to God that would cause him to stop loving us. And you can see that in Romans 8:38 through 39. And then going to the questions, it says in unending love here, it says, how do I react and respond to the truth that God does not give up on me? I wrote, it says, seems unreal to realize just how incredible God's love is for me and for all of us. I mean, to realize that he didn't give up on me. He could have, realize that, he was that merciful, even though I was living a very foolish life. And he could have just said, nope, I'm done with that guy, but he kept, I definitely had the consequences. That's what I hated the most. But anyway, it says, the number 2 says, what keeps me from being truthful with God? And, I'm usually, I found myself, with, it says we admitted to God, to ourselves, and then to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. For me, it's kind of, it seemed like I was more willing to give it to God than I was to someone else. Because I knew that if God, he already knows it all, and it just made it so. But then kind of letting someone else know it, then that's kind of what I had a problem with. That trust to find that, who could I trust to be truthful with other than the one who created me and knows me. So anyway, that's just me. But it says, number 3, it says, what makes me think that I can hide anything from God? And I kind of left that blank. I was thinking. I was like, but I think it's just a matter of, I can't really hide anything from God because he's everywhere. But then I think, that was a hard one, Doug, for me, because I realize that God's, he sees it all. How could I hide anything from him? It's kind of hard to, but, I think my pride kind of steps in the way too, and thinking I can hide and get away with it. But I think that even my guilt and shame, kind of what you talked about, there tonight, and man, the guilt and shame will drive me to think, well, might as well, I've done wrong, I'm wrong, so might as well just keep on trying to hide. Well, I guess as I think about it, the more I got into it, then I just, I kind of deserted myself from God, because I didn't feel, I felt unworthy, kind of,
So you rejected yourself.
rejecting myself. So it just kind of,
Do you think oftentimes we reject ourselves and then blame God?
yeah, I do, I really, because, man,
Or maybe a part of us, live within us.
yeah,
So this story of Gomer and Hosea and a scenario of her, being set free from slavery and being a prostitute, and then living a life being married to the preacher, kinda, right? And then deciding to go back to prostitution and then back into slavery. How does that relate to us today?
it's just, that's how we are. God gives us freedom, a free will to choose. I don't know, think about the Israelites. He brought them out of the land of slavery, but then he couldn't get the land of slavery out of them, but
Right.
just, it's, relates to us all the way because we're knotheads. We're knotheads, and we'll do everything we can do to try to get away from the one that really loves us the most, and that's God, that will never fail us. But I know for some of us, we may not have ever known that kind of love. I mean, never have realized that love. So I guess it just.
So how do you think Gomer felt when he bought her back and his desire was to restore her?
I think that I'm sure he felt like he was unworthy too.
We're talking about her, right?
Or yeah, right. The Gomer, the prostitute.
His
Right.
wife.
Yeah, wife. She probably felt like a total failure. I'm sure it was but then when she felt that she was accepted again and not rejected, that and loved, then man, that brought a sense of thinking, man, my
So
life
can you
has
feel,
hope.
can you be loved and feel like you're a failure and disconnected and unworthy? Let me ask that question again. Can you be loved and feel unworthy? Let's just simplify it.
Yes, yeah, I think so. Because for me, I think that, I knew that God loved me, and I knew that His love for me was unconditional, but there was something within me that still wanted to run from that love, wanted to use it on something that was totally out of accordance with what His love. His love for me is so deep I can't begin to even fathom the love of God. But it just it makes me feel unworthy when I think about it. Like Isaiah, he felt unworthy. But I'm trying to get to your question, but I'm thinking, man, it's just how can I do that? But
And what's the answer to that question? How can you do that?
by using His free will in an crazy way, trying to do it my way, and I know.
How you do that so that it's clear is we have to accept it.
Right.
We have to accept it. And we resist against that because we think that we gotta somehow do something to deserve it. How can we deserve that kind of love?
You can't really. That's why God sent His Son.
That's why we have to accept it.
Accept it.
Sometimes you can always
It's a
show
free
them
gift.
back, by showing somebody else that.
What'd you say, Joe?
Sometimes you can always show them back by showing somebody else,
Sure,
what you've
sure.
learned like that,
So anyway.
I hope I didn't mess you up. but-
No, you're good. Good. But thanks for letting me share tonight.
All right. Thank you.
Go ahead, I'll go ahead.
Sure, you got something to say?
Yeah, I do. I'll make this short and sweet.
All right.
Just hold on, watch this.
I'll wait for you.
Okay,
Right
well, you
here.
gotta wait on Rick. He's
Rick's
going
coming up next
Yeah,
again?
yeah, Rick's coming up next.
I'll go with you.
All right, let's do a reflection on unending love. We'll keep it short and to the point. You're doing bad, you're hiding out. The guy comes up to you. Hey, how you doing? You shove him off. Next day, he's back out there. Pretty soon, you're giving in to him. And you're asking yourself, why is he here? Someone had to send him. So there's your unending love. Figure out where it come from, and then give him the praise when he needs it.
Alright, go shut the camera off.
Thanks, dude. That was cool.
Take care of you there.
Yeah.
Now you do yours.
Unending love. How do I react and respond to the truth that God does not give up on me? Well, I'm pretty grateful because I'm still breathing.
Yes.
You know, I'm not dead. I'm still useful. Even when I'm having my worst days, I have to remind myself that, but it doesn't always seem to work. But it works out in the long run. Trust me. Well, trust God, actually. What keeps me from being truthful with God? Probably the fact that I'm not truthful with myself. Or in my addiction, I'm not. Because I gotta lie to myself to get high so that I think I'm doing the right thing. I don't know. What makes me think that I can hide anything from God? Well, everything when I'm high. Everything I'm doing, so I'm hiding. Hiding from the people that love me that don't get high. And I'm hiding from just everything. Rick had picked this one. What was it? It's what we started on at the beginning of the week when I wasn't sure. Oh, it's right here. How are you guys? Good? Well, after I read about this stuff on Monday about that, I wrote this thing about, I guess it fits with unending love. Escape and self-deception. I think Doug worked on this a little. But just fessing up, because I hid from all my stuff all my life when I was using, and just fessing up, just owning up to it, my past. So I don't have to repeat it again in my future, hopefully. Anything?
That's what step 5 is all about, is coming to terms with things in a real way so that we can deal with it, so we don't have to carry it around like we demonstrated last week with the baggage.
Yeah, I had some baggage last week. Was mine. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tommy. All right, Rick.
What is going on around here?
We're having a step fest.
Hey,
Yeah, step
hey,
fast.
hey, can I come back up?
Yeah, you can if you want to.
All right, I had studied this week on self-deception. Self-deception. It's out of Lamentations 3:40, and the first thing I had to do is figure out what is self-deception. Self-deception is basically turning away from who you are, who you really are, trying to be somebody else, doing things to impress other people when that's not who you really are. In Lamentations 3:40, I haven't got my Bible with me, but I know the scripture 3:40 says, turn around, go back to the Lord. Because you're basically turning your back on God, you're basically turning your back on your own self. There's an old saying that says, the things that I do and say does not necessarily define who I really am.
Yes.
And that's a part of self-deception. And I really like the questions here on this. Question 1 says, as you examine yourself, can can you admit to some self-deception in the past? Most of my life. I mean, through my whole drinking and using, I was deceiving myself. I was trying to, we was talking earlier, about how, when I drank, it gave me personality. It, helped me fit in with other people. But that's not who I really was. I was deceiving myself when I was doing that. So I really like that question right there, and yes, I've done it a whole lot in my life. Just not being real with myself.
Could people do that but not be involved in drugs and alcohol?
Sure they could. Sure.
Have you ever heard of the word poser?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've heard it.
Isn't that the same thing? Basically, pretending to be something that
Pretending
you're
to be
not.
something that
So
you're
you're
not.
posing and trying to fake out other people, but you're also faking out yourself.
Mhm.
Could another word be lying to other people and also lying
To
to yourself?
yourself.
Could that also be deceiving yourself, like self-deception?
Sure. Sure.
See how I did put all that together?
Put all that together. That's good. That's exactly what self-deception is. I mean, according to what I studied, that's exactly what self-deception is lying to yourself. So, okay, question 2, and I hope Doug don't mind me saying this, but question 2 says, does anybody have the freedom to speak truth into your life on a regular basis? And I would have to say Doug Wilkerson has that freedom to do that. I don't know, I've been to Doug many times when I needed somebody to feel comfortable enough and not worry about hurting my feel-goods and tell me the truth, whether I liked it or not. Sometimes the truth hurts, sometimes you don't want to hear it, but it's something you need to know. And Doug has always had that ability to do that with me, and I've always accepted it. Like I said, not all the time did I like it. I mean, I don't like the cuts and all that, but I need to hear stuff like that.
But how was the mannerism of presenting the truth?
The mannerism was great. I mean, you did it out of love and you did it out of caring. You didn't do it out of hatred or being rude or anything like that. You always did it with love.
Which is very important.
Very
Communicate,
important.
have some connection, emotional relationship in how you communicate it.
Right, exactly.
Not just with the sword, but also with love.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
I just want to make sure that I put that.
No, that's part of the reason why I've always come to you, because I could count on you to tell me the truth and do it in a caring way.
I appreciate that.
I've always appreciated you for it.
Thank you.
Okay, and the third one, I had a couple more people on my list to do this, and they're not here tonight, but one of them's here. It says, ask 3 or 4 trusted friends to write 5 words describing your strengths and 5 words describing your weakness. Record them here and examine them to discover areas that you can work on within your small group of trusted fellow strugglers. So just an example, I brought one from my friend Willie. Hope you don't mind me saying that. He had wrote down, and on my strength side, and by the way, I had a sponsor from Saturday Night Live one time. I was talking to him on the phone, and I believe I was doing believe I was doing my step 4, and, matter of fact, Noah was, and he was a firm believer, and I am too, that when you're doing a moral inventory, it's not all bad stuff. You need to inventory your good stuff too.
Right.
And I was having a hard time finding anything good about myself. So he said, he encouraged me, he said, if you can't find nothing good about yourself, he says, call somebody that you can trust and get them to tell you 10 things good about yourself. And, so that's what's good about this question right here anyway. Alright, on the strength side, it says compassionate, and I am very compassionate. I wished I was more compassionate with myself, but, I'm towards other people, I'm very compassionate. Respectful, I'm very respectful of people. Maybe not so much when I'm in my addiction, but if I'm not in my addiction, I'm very respectful of people and respectful of people's feelings and what they feel and what they're going through. Cautious, yes, I'm very cautious. I have to be cautious because I could step in a mud puddle at any time and have a relapse if I don't remain on guard and be cautious and be aware of my surroundings and what's going on around me. That can happen to me. Easy going, yes, I'm very easy going. I love people. I love being around people. Um, I love life, and I love doing right. You know, I have a lot of issues that I have to work through usually on a daily basis, but I have a lot of people around me that help me with that too. And, but I am a very easygoing person. And, so on the weakness side, and, I told Willem when he wrote these, I said, tell the truth here. You're not gonna offend me in any way. And he did. Number 1 weakness was my alcoholism. And it has been since I was just a little kid. I took my first drink at the age of 9. By the time I was 13, I was a full-blown drinker. I mean, it was nothing out of the norm for me to be drinking. Of course, they didn't have 30 packs in, they had cases. So I always had a case of beer, and I was a career drinker at age 13. Traumatized, yes, I've been traumatized a lot in my life, especially when I was a kid, and in my adult life too. Over the last, I would say, 20 years, I've witnessed deaths of my brothers that was very disturbing, because my brothers all died they died bad deaths. I mean, I found one of them dead of an overdose. I seen one of them die of cirrhosis liver. The list goes on. I've had nieces. My whole family has basically been wiped out by drugs and alcohol. And I've seen some of it firsthand, had to witness it, and yes, it traumatized me. It's stuff that I dream about, I have nightmares over, that I probably always will have. But I'm to the point that, you know, I can't let that control me anymore. I have to work on that. I have to, you know, find somebody to talk to about that stuff.
Yes.
You know, to counsel with about it. And not hold that back and hold that in, you know, and maybe ease up some of these nightmares and stuff I have. Okay, unreliable. I like that one. It actually says reliable. And when I'm not drinking or using, I am reliable. I'm very reliable. If I say I'm gonna be there at work or whatever I'm gonna do, I'm gonna be there. You know, I'm gonna do what I say I'm gonna do. But now, on the other hand, if I'm in my middle of my addiction and in the middle of my self-deception, lying and all of that, then reliability goes out the window. I don't care. I don't care if I hurt you. I don't care. I don't care if I hurt myself. I don't care. I just don't care. I'm not reliable. And you can't believe anything I say. And that's just being honest about it. So, Willie, I thank you for doing that for me. Like I said, I got a couple more people that did it too, but they're not here tonight. But anyway, any questions? Questions? Thought I'd ask. All right, thank you.
That's good, Rick.
Thank you.
I try to enjoy myself, in case you couldn't tell. Might as well, right? In my earlier life, I pretty much didn't. So anyway, so I try. Any comments about anything we've gone over so far?
What's going on here tonight?
What's going on here tonight? We're having a meeting. Yeah,
I like it. We should do this more often.
I think it's been good. And so, any questions or comments?
Well, when I said you gotta fess up, I failed to mention don't hurt people while you do it though.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
try not to hurt people.
Yeah. Don't try to help yourself by hurting others and at their expense. That's not healthy because that negatively affects you. And so,
Long run, yeah.
right. Let's see. I got all kinds of notes here, but I'm going to make this comment. One of the things in self-deception that I kind of put in a deep color in my notes was we should note that there is cleansing from every wrong. Okay, there is cleansing from every wrong, not from wrongdoing. What do you think about that? What in the world does that mean?
So,
Do what?
Now you got me thinking about that one.
I'll read it again, all right?
Simplify it.
Okay, says, we should note that there is cleansing from every wrong. Isn't that the truth? Right? Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Then it goes on, and there's a comma there. That's comma. Not from wrongdoing, wrongdoings in parentheses. It said, in a general sense.
Does that kind of mean like, I can forgive you, but that don't mean I forget?
Well, the reality is yeah, we don't forget. But, I say this from time to time, God seems to be the only entity that can seem to forget. It's a God thing. The rest of us, we have to work on remembering it less. That's how I term it. And so, do I?
I'm saying it's that way, they don't really repeat their history.
Yeah, right. And so, that point there is that we can be, our wrongdoing can be cleansed, but there's nothing that gives us permission to continue to do wrongdoing. Our wrongs can be forgiven, but we don't have permission to do anything wrong. Okay? Does that make sense? In other words, we don't go on with it. When we forgive someone, we can let go of the indebtedness that we feel that that's been incurred. But the fact of it is, we don't allow or expose ourselves to the same situation again, possibly from that person.
We're cautious.
Yeah, we become cautious. Now, if now this is going to sound strange, but if they become a different person, in other words, if they change their ways, then we can, then we are able, if we choose, to change our ways or our relationship with them. Okay? But the fact of it is, I like this statement, even though it was challenging, that we're cleansed from our wrongs, but we're not cleansed from basically doing wrong. Okay? So that means we don't have permission, because some people, I remember back when I first accepted Christ as my Savior, and this was back in 72, there seemed to be some chatter about, well, if I'm forgiven, then I'm forgiven for what I'm going to do tonight. Okay? Well, in essence, I will be forgiven for the things I do wrong, but the fact of it is, we are taking advantage of the grace of God by saying, I already have, I can do anything I want because I'm going to be forgiven. That will negatively affect you, and it affects others. Does that make sense? Is that too muddy?
No.
Okay, all right. Another statement on here is, since we cannot ignore God and get away with it, we might as well come clean and be forgiven. Now, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about Gomer a while ago, that she got caught up in her addiction for all that was going on. See, we think the enemy is out there, but it's the enemy that's in me, right? It's my sick thoughts, my sick feelings, which we're not going to be able to get into Romans 7. We'll do that next time we meet, hopefully. Okay, but we have that lower nature in us, and that's what recovery is about, is transforming us and choosing to live in our higher nature instead of our lower nature. Does that make sense? And that's a choice, and that can be a challenging choice, but it's a healthy choice. And that's what recovery is that we have to be transformed, because maybe we didn't really know that we had the higher nature that we could live in, but we know now, right? And the trouble is, we have this habit of choosing the lower things in our life, right? We use spiritual terminology. We choose to do sin, or how about this? We'll pluck one out of the air, lying. How about lying? Willie likes me to talk about lying, and so we pick lying out of the air and see. Well, I can get what I want if I lie, but the question is, do you really? How long is that going to work for you? What's the ramifications behind the lie? Think about it. Not only does it affect out here, but it rotten, it puts poison and rot into your own soul. You wound yourself every time you do something that you know I shouldn't do. Isn't that the truth? And if we just go back to Gomer a while ago, that it's not that she didn't know that she was messing up, but how many times have I talked to people that they try to live a new life, and they're working hard, but they keep messing up, and their expectations are so high, and they're overwhelmed, and they're causing all this anxiety. Are you feeling what I'm talking about? And it blows them up, right? Isn't that what happens in drugs and alcohol? We get so overwhelmed, or acting out, gambling, or whatever addiction you got. You go to, and you're looking for that escape. Oh, I just can't handle this anymore. What's my way of escape? Well, oftentimes we go back to our old mechanisms, our old unhealthy mechanisms to escape. But the problem is, yeah, you know it doesn't work. It works maybe for a temporary. In fact, it probably works the most before you even take the shot or take the drink. But by the time you take the shot or take the drink, now you're overwhelmed with guilt and shame. And if you're not careful, that guilt and shame backs up on you, and you have to do some more to cover up what you already did. And then you keep going that cycle. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Hello. So what do? We have to break the cycle someplace, right? We have to say, I got to get off of this merry-go-round. It's going to be hurt. It's going to be hard. It's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. It's going to be terrible. I hate myself, and everybody else is going to hate me. Well, they already do hate me. Maybe if I start doing the right thing, maybe eventually I can turn the corner. And that's so hard, isn't it? Gosh, that's hard. It's painful. I can remember driving down the road asking God just to rip everything out of me. Okay? And then my next thought was, if you rip everything out of me, then there won't be anything left. I won't be here. Right? You know, it reminds me of Apostle Paul. Wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death? Nothing but corruption. Right? But the fact of it is, that's not true. That's just how we feel. Say it again. That's not true. That's just how we feel. Gomer was loved, even though she didn't feel loved. You are loved, even though you may not feel loved. Could your feelings be telling you a lie? I said that slowly to help you. Right? Because it probably, your feelings are telling you a lie. Because our feelings can and do lie to us. And our brain helps our back up this poison, because our brain wants to continue to do what it's always done because you trained it to do that, and it thinks it's helping you out by torturing you. You know what I mean? According to neuroscience, that's what happens. We did it to ourselves. We've inflicted ourselves. We shot ourselves. I was thinking about a cousin that I had, and this is probably 40 plus years ago. He tried to commit suicide with a shotgun. Put a shotgun in his mouth. The rest of the story is I went and visited him in the hospital after he attempted suicide. So that means he lived, right? But he happened to turn his his head at the right time, and it did tear up some of his face. But the fact of it is, we get so wrapped up in our pain and our hurt, and then we hate ourselves so much that we want to destroy ourselves or inflict pain on ourselves because of the pain that we have inflicted on ourselves. And sometimes we even blame others for our pain, that we do stupid stuff. But fortunately for him, at the last moment, something took over, and most of the buckshot missed his face, tore up some of his cheek, blew it out from the inside. But you know what? And everybody that I've ever talked to, or that I've heard about, everyone that attempted suicide, or that I've sent to the psychiatric ward, they hated me at the moment when I sent them to the psych ward, but they always thanked me later. And every person that had attempted suicide, they are always thankful after, if it was a failed attempt. So, doesn't mean that they didn't get back in that same depressed state and try it again. But they're always glad when it didn't work out for them. Anyway, that's some of my experience. So, anyway, I want to make sure I want to end with this quote, okay? Because this ties in step 5. Next time we'll be in step 6. And I've said this quote many times, and I put this on my paper, this quote here, and this is from Spinoza. He said, emotion, which is suffering. Okay? Emotion is suffering, okay? Because, we're talking about the 3 stages of relapse, and emotion was the first one, right? Okay? So emotion, which is suffering, because we torture ourselves emotionally. Isn't that the truth? Hello? Shane, right?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Shane. So, I'm quoting Spinoza here. Emotion, which is suffering, ceases to be suffering as soon as we form a clear and precise picture of it. See, when we're down there in the abyss, when we're overwhelmed with anxiety, when we feel so overwhelmed and lost and hopeless, because it's dark, it's all dark, we can't see, it's dark, right? Hello, right? And Spinoza, and this quote, I've been quoting this quote for, 5-10 years, and it's becoming more and more clear to me that Spinoza is so right, okay? Because suffering ceases as soon as we form a clear and precise picture of it. Soon as you see what's going on, and I had this happen to me last week, okay? I was in a place of feeling dysregulated. But I didn't know I was feeling dysregulated. Do you know what I'm talking about? But I was feeling dysregulated. And then finally I realized I'm in a dysregulated state. Okay? Which means it was a form of kind of a depression or overwhelmed or insecure, all those things, and can be all in or part of it. And I said to myself, I'm in a dysregulated state. Oh, I see. That's where it became a clear and precise picture. I started getting clarity of what was going on. I've been here before. And I've got out before. Right? And then things, I immediately, when I realized it and the picture started clearing up, my emotion, which I was suffering from, shifted. Does that make sense? And not that the situation is resolved, but now I'm excited because I'm anticipating getting more information in that area that I was uncertain about. Because things were more clear. I got a clearer picture. Does any of that make any difference? So, I'm going to read and close with this one more time. Spinoza, emotion, which is suffering, ceases to be suffering as soon as we form a clear and precise picture of it. Okay? May the Lord bless you, keep you. May his face shine upon you and give you his peace. Amen? And make healthy choices. We will not be here next week, all right? But we'll be here the week following, okay?